Civil rights movies get me all the time, man. They get me with their humming, and then they always make black people fall in slow motion. Yo, every civil rights movie, black person falling slow. Why you got to slow down my pain? Just play it at regular speed. Anytime a black person fall in a civil rights movie, they fall, then they do that double bounce in the dirt, and the dirt come up. Get out of here, darky! Stop up!
It's like we got a demo tape and nobody want to hear it, but it's like this the South got something to say.
Hi, my name is Kevin Blackistone, alongside Dr. Robert Greene II.
Welcome to the award-winning podcast, Our New South, presented by the Levine Museum of the New South in Charlotte, North Carolina.
The Levine Museum connects the past to the future to realize the promises of a new South.
Follow the show, rate and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and here in Season 3, you can watch my conversations right here on YouTube.
All right, let's get to today's show.
Welcome back for a new season of Our New South. This is Dr. Robert Greene II coming to you from Claflin University in Orangeburg, South Carolina, here with Kevin Blackistone coming to you from the University of Maryland. And we are happy and thrilled to bring our first episode to you this season with the comedian and cultural critic, Roy Wood Jr. Roy, thanks for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you. I don't know if I've been called a cultural critic before. I like that one. It's better than humorist. Somebody keep going on my damn Wikipedia and putting American humorist as my occupation. And I don't know why that infuriates me so much, because there's so much stand-up comedy in my resume. Like, I'm not Louis Grizzard. Respect to Louis Grizzard. Like, I'm not a humorist.
It's highbrow comedian.
I'll take it. It's like Gary Larson in The Far Side. It's like, do I offer quizzical Andy Rooney? He's a humorist.
Well, I think this is a great way for us to kick off what should be a fantastic conversation about your life, your career, and what you're up to right now. And we actually want to start with your newest work, your book, The Man of Many Fathers, which both Kevin and I have read, and we both thoroughly enjoyed it. I had to apologize to my office mates here at Claflin because I was laughing out loud a few times while reading it in the office. But I think your book is very fascinating from the point of view of someone who grew up in the South and grew up in several places in the South, most notably Memphis, Clarksville, Mississippi, Birmingham, Alabama, and of course, Tallahassee, Florida. How did these different places shape how you think of the South and also how you work as a comedian and storyteller?
You know, I would say in Clarksville, I understood and learned the idea of community. You know, like that whole street. Like I talk about in that book about how in Clarksdale, me and the other kids in my grandma's neighborhood, my mom was from Clarksdale. We lived in Memphis at the time until third grade. And I went to Clarksdale 2 weekends a month and 2 months like National Guard level frequency to Clarksdale. And the way we ran as children up and down that street, packs of 10, 15 of us, all like between first and third grade, just a pack of wolves, not a single adult, but every adult was watching us. So I learned the idea of community and closeness. That's where I went. I far more religious in Mississippi with my grandma on vacation Bible school and going to 2 church services. That was a must. So, you know, I learned a great deal of that there. I learned my mother's love in Memphis. I would say in Birmingham, I learned the idea of this is not normal. There is an unforgiving world out there awaiting you on the other side of all this blackness you're experiencing here. And I'd say at FAMU, I learned forgiveness. So, and I put all of those different things through the same prism of the Black community. I learned those from other Black Americans. You know, I didn't interact with a lot of white people growing up. It just wasn't the norm. Like I got bussed out to a white school in 6th grade. That was it. Anything else outside of that, it was no more than 2 white people in my homerooms for the most part. Mm-hmm. And then also on the Black side, every Black person, as I've learned from talking on Twitter, being Black American doesn't make you regular Black. Well, that's what I call it, because that's the Black I know. is regular black. Regular cheese grit, Waffle House, catfish, black. That's all I grew. So the idea, like even the concept of like, I didn't meet my first Latino to the 7th grade. I didn't meet a Caribbean black person until college. So my upbringing was extremely predominantly black churches and schools, and even Boy Scouts is all black, at all black Little League baseball team, you name it, man. So each of those places gave me a different piece of myself that, you know, that I still carry with to this day. Yeah, I knew black. You know, my father was a civil rights journalist. He was in news radio. He was a radio news reporter. My pops from the Soweto riots in South Africa in the 50s up until pretty much Rodney King covered every source of black conflict globally that you can name. So even when I rode around the South with him to speaking engagements, you know, when my pops used to watch me, I would get sent to until we moved to Birmingham in 4th grade, I got sent to Birmingham for a month during the summer. And my dad didn't believe in babysitters and, you know, you come with me. You with your daddy today. So wherever I go, you go. So it was not uncommon to just be with my pops while he's interviewing Farrakhan or Jesse Jackson. They in town for the speech over at the whatever the thing is. And my pops is backstage just talking trash with Al Sharpton and recording. And like that was a normal summer for me in the 3rd grade. So not just the idea of being around blackness, but understanding what it meant to be black and what was out there on the other side. I was well prepared and galvanized, probably way before I should have been. But, you know, this is a different time in America, especially in the South. Like Roots, I tried to explain this to a young person. Roots used to come on every February on PBS, like clockwork. The same way the claymation Christmas thing come on CBS. Every February, PBS showed Roots 10 nights. And my pops made sure we watched it. Every year we watched Roots. So just a knowledge of self and history was just naturally infused in me, you know, but it gives you an idea of what the South could be, which makes it sadder when you see what certain parts of the South have become.
Now, I want to come back to what you just said about the South in a second, but you just mentioned your father, who you just said was a civil rights journalist, was a radio show host, interviewed a lot of famous people during that era, and your mother was a college administrator. So I'm curious as to how your parents influenced you, in particular, the kind of work they did, because it seemed to prepare you for the kind of jokes, the kind of craft you have on the stage today.
So my mom, you know, she works at a black college in Birmingham. She's been at Miles College for the last 35 years. I mean, she was professor and then worked her way up. And, you know, prior to that, you know, in her undergrad, you know, she went to FAMU for grad school, but in her undergrad, my mother was one of the first 9 people to integrate Delta State University and led sit-ins at that university for equal rights for black students on campus. Got arrested, got beat on, same as everybody else. I'm sure my pops was there reporting on it. You know, like I was raised by 2 people that, you know, were fighting the same issue, but from a different place. My father was out to challenge politicians and rights makers, and my mother seemed to find a good pocket in enriching the next generation of black minds. I can't do all the fighting, so let me go back to boot camp and train up these privates to get them the education they need. My mom, I'm embarrassed to say, I don't know what she does now at Miles, but I know for a long time at Miles College, my mom was in the counseling and testing department and academic advisement. It was her job, literally her job, to talk students into not dropping out. She's the last person that signs your withdrawal form. And my mom has been able to talk some people back into school who ended up with their degrees. She's a far bigger celebrity in Birmingham than me. Man, I'd be in the club in Birmingham. It'd be a random dude coming to me. Hey, man, your mama a real one. You funny too, though. And then I'll just walk off. and then I'll see my mom, and I'll go, yo, what was, dude, Keith, what was up with him? Boy, I was going to drop out because he got one baby on the way. I know some students with 4 babies. If you don't take your ass back to class. Like, I don't know if that's how my mama do academic advisement, but she helped to give young people perspective. So yeah, I grew up in a house where my parents would watch the news. My dad was a ravenous news junkie. And we read the paper every day. We had two at that time when a lot of cities had the morning paper, then you had the Post Herald. We read both papers. So there was definitely a lot of fight in both of them, and they were extremely informed. You know, it would be almost like, I mean, Dr. Griffin, I was probably damn near 30 before I became any of what my comedy is today. You know, if we're talking social commentary, I didn't care about that in my 20s.
And I was just about to ask you about that since you brought up your household. So how did that inform your comedy?
Number one, I started stand-up when I was 19, so we need a little bit of perspective. I was 19 when I started. I just gotten arrested for credit card fraud. I worked in the campus post office. We stealing credit cards. We buying jeans. We selling jeans on campus for, half price or whatever. So this thought of going to prison, this is before I got probation. At the time I thought I was going to prison. I go, well, before I go to prison, let me go and just try this comedy. I always wanted to do that. I'm going to get stabbed in jail. So I'm going to go and tell these jokes before they murder me. So my comedy was escapist. I wasn't trying to confront the horrors of the world. I'm going to talk about book buyback. I'm going to talk about having a car with like I remember one of the first jokes I wrote was about the first thing Black people learn about their car is how far past the E the needle can go. To the point that's a feature that they should try to sell you on when you buy the car. Now you see that E? Look how far past that E that needle can go. That's at least another 20. That's at least another 2 days worth of gas. Like, it's silly. It's funny, but it's silly. But it's not, let me tell you about the racism in the world. You write what you know. And at the time, I had not experienced my father's America. I hadn't experienced my mother's America.
But you were in it. You were being steeped in it.
I was not steeped in 1960s sharecropper, Mississippi, Clarksdale, as my mother was. My grandmother sharecropped cotton. My mom and her siblings helped their grandmother pick so she could make weight. I wasn't steeped in that. My dad was, for a greater part of his radio career, was the first Black hire at most stations that he worked at in the 50s. My relationship with racism and oppression was spotty. I feel like people in my generation, we're the ones who were born after the zombie apocalypse, whereas my parents were on the front lines when the zombies first came and the world went to hell.
Right.
Where I was already born into the monster, and you're telling me the rules or should be quiet because the monster can hear you, and that's how it gets you. So you just learn how to move within it. So when I got to college, yeah, I know there's racism, but outside of some aggressive cops and things of that nature, I don't feel like I got anything remotely close to what my parents dealt with. So I wasn't inclined to talk about that. Now,
so where did it change?
Early 30s. Once you live in your 20s, you move to LA and you see a different part of the world. You start experiencing discrimination within your industry. You start feeling it like, oh, okay, this is what they were telling me about. Now I know how to navigate it. It doesn't affect me as much. It's like most of my race observations were very broader in my 20s. Whereas once I got into my early 30s, you could see me starting to become inward about well, how does this affect me? Well, let me tell y'all what I think. If you go back and find my David Letterman set from 2006, I was 26, maybe 27 years old. And I told a joke, and I don't remember what the national headline was, but I told a joke about how basically Latinos should have to do yard work. Don't discriminate. It was an anti-discrimination joke, just about how stop hating on Latinos, let them go out and work the fields. Every minority group at some point in this country had to work in the sun. It's part of the hazing. And I talk about the Asians in the railroads, and I talk about enslavement. So it's just a joke about how, like on the surface, it's a joke about, hey, Mexicans should pick fruit. But when you look at it, it's like, no, America has mistreated every single class of people that have come here. I was too dumb to realize that that's what the joke was. And you can see it. But then you fast forward to when I do Conan, early 30s, and I started talking about Black superheroes. My first Comedy Central special, 2017. I think around there I'm 35, 36. And then it's about, oh, well, have you noticed that Black superheroes don't help they only stay in Black neighborhoods? Like Luke Cage can't leave Harlem because his people need him. That's why Luke Cage couldn't go fight Thanos. Like good luck with Thanos. I'm going to be over here on 133rd Street. I got to handle my neighborhood. Or Black Panther only cared about Wakanda. He had to. Who else would? Like, that's when I started becoming aware of how Blackness plays into the larger picture. You know, and that was early 30s is when that first started happening. And then once I had my son at 37, that's when I was kind of off to the races about, okay, well, what's this world that I'm bringing him into and how can I change it?
And one of the worlds that you brought your son into, he was born where?
He was born in San Francisco, but raised in New York. By 6 months in, he's a New Yorker. My son is a New Yorker.
Your son's a New Yorker, but you are a Southerner.
Yeah. Through
and you impart Southernness to your son.
What I've tried to instill in him just through action to other people is, you know, the degree of kindness and caring about other people, holding the door open, you know, being polite to folks. But then I also need to be careful about him being in a world where the expectation from authority figures is to hear sir, or they become hostile. The police, teachers, and, you know, folks like that. So I struggle with that, you know, just a bit, but, you know, when it's about instilling just Southern values in him, I think it's about kindness and consideration for other people. But if it's about the world, it's about keeping an eye out and making sure that nobody's taking advantage of you.
Now, see, this is why I referred to you earlier as a cultural critic, because you're giving all these things serious thought. But you just mentioned the role of Southern history in both your work and your personal life. Of course, a lot of what you're known for today is your work with things such as talking about the Chitlin Circuit in your work, talking about the Negro Leagues in particular. I think one of my favorite parts of your stand-up is talking about civil rights films and how every single civil rights film has the same scene of a person getting hit or pushed down in slow motion. And the music plays in the background with exactly. But I am curious as to why Southern history has become so important to you, because as you just said, that wasn't always in the back of your mind. That's been relatively recent for you as a development. And in particular, you were a producer for a documentary called Neutral Ground about the fight in New Orleans over removal of Confederate statues. Correct. So this has become a very personal issue for you. And as a historian, I think I'm really curious as to know why this history matters to you so much.
I feel like Black history is American history, and so much of the story of America starts in the South. The people originated there, and you started talking about any other Midwestern city, and you're talking about Black people there. Most of them came from the South. Same goes for California. You trace, if I go back more than 2 branches on your family tree, is somebody in there from Georgia, Louisiana, or something. So I feel like that is what happens here connects to a larger conversation, even globally. You know, I was in Scotland a couple months ago, and through a series of things I won't even explain right now, I end up talking to native Black Scots just about what is it like being amongst the 2% of Blacks who live in this country. Part of what they kept what it kept going back to was so much of it was they talk about American culture and Black American culture, their influence out the yin yang. They get every Black show, but in their schools, no Black American history is taught. And in our schools, no foreign Black history is taught. It's hard to believe that to be a coincidence. So those are the moments where I go, oh, dang, it's cool that if my stand-up got over here, then you might learn a little something, even if it's in the form of a quick joke.
And just to follow up really quickly, because you're doing so much work with Southern history, I can't help but ask how this influences your viewpoint on the future of the South as well. Where do you see the South going in the next generation or so?
I think we're getting into blue cities and red states.
Mm-hmm.
Even more so than what used to be. I think the rural Southern experience is overlooked and not checked on by a lot of people. And I think those people feel disregarded and discarded. And that goes for poor white people too. So how do we get the South to a point where the rural parts are lock in step with the larger metropolitan areas? And I don't know how you do that, because the metros look down on them and the rural parts think that everybody in town is bougie, one of them Atlanta people. I don't know. Like, if you're asking me my hope for the future of the South, you know, I think that you need more people in these more populated areas to care about one another.
When's the last time you performed in the South?
Birmingham, 12 years. I go to Huntsville a lot. I don't really perform in Birmingham. I do Atlanta. I shot my first special in Atlanta. I always get love in Atlanta. Memphis, I've gone here and there. Memphis is a difficult market for me. Memphis is also a very musical town. It's like New Orleans.
Why is Memphis difficult for you?
Because I probably haven't worked that market as well as I should, but also Memphis is a very specific style of Black humor, I have found. That just doesn't sell well. But I also think that Memphis as a whole, as a comedy market, has never been a big comedy market. They've had rooms, but, you know, stuff always moves around. I just think in a city like that, where there's a lot of music and there's a lot of, it's a jovial city. It's like New Orleans or Miami. You know, Miami's had comedy clubs. I've gone there from time to time, but never so consistently enough to make it a regular stop. But also during that same time span, comedy clubs have opened and closed and hopscotched all around the 305, which I think is also indicative of what the market is.
Right.
It ain't just me. You got 51 other weeks to keep your club open with other comedians. Birmingham is a tough one because my pops was there for so long, and I did morning radio there for a decade. It was always tough to sell a ticket because I was just so familiar. Why would I pay $30 to see the dude that I know is up the street, whatever? Right. And because I could never really sell tickets in Birmingham, I spent the last 12 years just being an ambassador for the city and supporting local charities and showing up and doing public appearances. And I shot a Comedy Central pilot in Birmingham during that same 12-year span. 90 employees, 60 from the state of Alabama, infused $1.6 million into the local economy. Like, nice. That's my contribution to the crib. It's fine if y'all don't come see me because I'm around too much. Maybe I need to stay in hiding like Ruben Studdard, then show up every Christmas. Because that's what Ruben, I'm friends with Ruben, by the way. I'm not talking trash. because Rube lay low. You don't even see Rube at the grocery store. Meanwhile, I'm at the football game with my mama. I'm too exposed.
Let me ask you something. It seems to me that comedy might be peculiar to the South. Saying that because we rarely hear comedians in other regions of the country, maybe California, use where they are as a part of their joke. But comedians from the South use the South as a character in their repertoire.
I get what you're saying.
Right. Why is that?
It's a common, and I don't even want to say trope. I just think there's a level of respect and understanding about where I'm from. I spoke in one special about how part of why Black people talk about where they're from is because I am measuring my level of respect. Before I know you, I have to know what your struggle is. What have you overcome? So saying where you're from is as much a testament to stripes on your shirt, like the military. I'm from New Orleans. Oh, okay. So I know you done persevered a little bit. Okay, I got a little respect for you. Continue on. What were you saying? So there's a degree of universal understanding about a lot of these places that I think stereotypes not the right word, but it's just everybody already know about it. Even if you're not from the South, you got people from there. So it's not as unique of an experience as, say, being Black and being from Boston. Like you tell me you Black and from Boston, I go, oh, what is that like? Because I don't know.
Right.
I don't have any preconceived ideologies on that. Even Chicago and Detroit are super unique. And from a struggle standpoint, I know that you've been through stuff and I know that you've seen stuff and I know that, life ain't been no crystal stair, but I can't default. But I just think there's a universality to Southern ideology because so many Black people in our roots are in the South and therefore our traditions are Southern coded. So I just think there's a shorthand.
And within that universality, what are the misconceptions about the South that people get?
To drive me up the wall that we're dumb and there ain't nothing going on. I get tired of people going to Birmingham and shooting a TV show, then sending me a text. Man, Birmingham kind of popping. Yeah, we got streets and grass. I blew people's minds when they found out Birmingham used to be bigger than Atlanta.
Sure did.
Mm-hmm. Birmingham was way bigger than Atlanta. In the 40s, we made steel. It was the middle of World War II. You know what they needed? Steel. Then the war ended, and I'm sure there's other economic factors that played into it, but a large part of it was that Delta Airlines was going to build a hub in Birmingham. But Birmingham Bull Connor wouldn't bend on immigration laws. He still wanted a racially segregated airport, and Delta was like, we don't have time to have a Black people TSA and a white people TSA. We're not doing that. We're going to have Black folks and white folks working at the T counter side by side. So we're going to take this to Atlanta. And I'm sure Atlanta and Georgia have a lot of the factors that played into Atlanta, turning up economically. But that was a huge loss.
Absolutely right.
So, there's definitely a lot of good people in the South, well-intended. And I think boiling the South down to a couple of ignorant folks you've seen in a TikTok and your algorithm, I think it's wrong. I think it's presumptuous. I think it's very lazy.
Why do you think even in the early 21st century, we're still having these conversations about people looking down on the South?
Because true change requires you to change how you look at something as well. Change isn't just about me being different. It's about you observing and noticing it. But that requires you doing work. And that's hard. And most people are lazy and stupid stuff populates to the top. I went to a NASCAR race with my son earlier this year. We're cheering on the brothers of Black Truck Series driver, Rajah Caruth.
Mm-hmm.
And We go to see Caruth and we're down on I forget what it's called, the infield or whatever, and welcome to garages. The NASCAR experience was very chill. It felt like being at a baseball game, honestly, in terms of the black to white ratio and behaviorally speaking. It felt like a baseball game. I know there's parts in the stands that are probably very still rednecky and whatever, but even NASCAR banned the Confederate flag from anybody. Like, no fan can just come there and fly that. But even NASCAR understands it. And I don't even know if NASCAR's intentions are genuine, but they also understand there ain't enough young racists to keep this sport popular for the next generation. So you may have to lean a different way. I had a lot of premonitions about NASCAR the same way people do about the South.
Yeah.
But I had to go see it. I had to go be immersed in it. I had to go rub shoulders with people. And I think that it is easier to hang on to what you think of someone than to assume that they have ever changed or evolved. So the short answer to your question is most people are too lazy to do the research, to do the work, to make sure that their opinion of a place still holds up.
With that said, and thinking about the future, what does the phrase New South mean to you?
To me, New South is about going forward, doing different things, and doing those things with people who you normally would not have believed to have been part of the Southern experience a generation ago. And accepting it, and not trying to change it, and not trying to live in the past. Because there's a lot of people in the South that want the old South. You know, for as much as you got outsiders thinking the South is dumb, you got insiders not wanting the South to grow or change or evolve. And to me, those people are more damaging than some outsider. At least the person on the outside ain't studying it and ain't thinking about it. You just talking trash. Well, cool, that's not affecting me. But there's people in the South that are actively working against progress. I've encountered them. So I think New South is about going forward with new ideas and new strategies, but also doing that with new people. Huntsville has more jobs than Birmingham right now. And probably even more now that the Space Force situation has been Space Force headquarters. They won the lawsuit or whatever. And Space Force headquarters is going to be in Huntsville, Alabama. Well, that's a lot of science and tech sector jobs. They might start launching stuff from there. Might have our own little Cape Canaveral pretty soon. But that, that's federal. The federal government had to come in and go, here's your damn employee. There's been a couple rockets there before that, but most people don't want that. There's a lot of people in the South that don't want progress. So the idea of the New South requires Southerners to drag it into the future, kicking and screaming.
Yeah, that's a great story. And I must say, before we get out, I love the baseball podcast that you did.
Oh,
that was brilliant.
Thank you, man. The Road to Rickwood, man.
Yeah, the Road to Rickwood.
That was a good time.
That was
a good time, to be able to sit with all those retired Negro Leaguers that are still living and listen to them tell their stories, and then just kind of zero in on how this one baseball field had a front seat to segregation, desegregation, then progress, and, all of that. Like, I didn't even know going into that podcast that Rickwood held the first integrated sporting event. And like, I'd have thought it would have been football. I was like, no, it was a baseball game. We got to start small. Let's see how this baseball integration goes. Make sure nobody stab each other. And it was the first integrated crowd. I know, right. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And that was brilliant. That was really, really well done. Which is why I guess, as we start out the show, you're a humorist. You're a cultural critic.
I'll take it.
And wear it proudly.
Yes, I will.
And wear it proudly. And so we've got a new part to the show that we want to share with you, and it's going to be our rapid fire question and answer section. And I'm sure you've done these before. So I'll start it out with the first question, and then Robert will come with the next question, and back and forth. You know how that goes.
Okay, ready.
Ready?
Yeah.
Where is your favorite place to be in the South?
Oh, my favorite place, probably Atlanta at Atlanta Fish Market is probably. The second is my mama's house. I'm sorry, Mama.
Next question. Sweet tea or Arnold Palmer?
Sweet tea. Don't even disrespect me with no Arnold Palmer.
What's your favorite Southern word or phrase?
Y'all and used to could. I love me. I used to could do it, but now I can't. Woo! Oh! Let a girl, you let a woman come up and say, used to could. I do declare, madam, you are making me rather hot and bothered by the way you saying used to could.
Who is your favorite Southerner, living or dead?
Oh. For old Jackson, but also honorable mention Charles Barkley because of the Alabama ties and the frankness of both of them.
Okay.
Yeah. I almost said Luther Campbell.
Okay.
But it's like, but I don't consider Miami the South. Does that make sense?
Oh.
It is, but it's not, but it is. It's just it's New Orleans. It's its own annex like Washington, D.C. It's just, all right, there's a totally different type of black thing happening here that's influenced by the island.
The next time you come to D.C., I'm going to take you to Dixie Liquors.
Okay, I don't know what that is, but I'm with it. Wait, I don't want no 40 ounce, man. I drank a King Cobra in college. I'm still recovering.
And last question. What's the most underrated Southern food?
Would you consider a slaw dog Southern? Or is that just a general communal everybody's had?
Let me get a ruling from the Southern.
Dogs.
From Augusta's finest.
I like slaw dogs, but I also enjoy baked beans on hot dogs. I like that. I don't know if that's like a Southern dish. I mean, I could just go red velvet cake, but I feel like that's going chalk. But I do enjoy a nice red velvet cake and cobbler when there's crust on the bottom. I don't know why y'all keep making this loose peach slop and then laying 2 pieces of dough on the top talking about this cobbler. That's
what if it has crust on the bottom? Doesn't it make it a pie?
Then whatever, man. I thought pie had cobbler is just more loose than pie. I like a nice crust.
Okay.
I don't like this peach soup y'all be serving. And then you don't even get no bread for you. You don't even get no crust for real.
I'll have to think about that.
I'm sorry. It'd be putting the dumplings in the middle of it and all of that. At least bread it up some.
And here's a question just for you. Who is your favorite comedian coming up?
Sinbad. Chris Rock, once I got a little older and I could understand and appreciate the commentary, but if we're going middle school and, whenever the HBO free preview weekend would come on, Sinbad was who I would watch. Just always loved him. Jingle All the Way, all that. Just great.
Man, well, this is fantastic. I'm so glad you did this with us.
I appreciate y'all for having me, man.
Thanks for
man.
joining us. This was fantastic.
This is tremendous.
It's a good damn hang. Y'all good folks.
We try to be. Be. And, I think one of the things we wanted to expose the audience to was the deep thinker that you are.
Thank you.
And, the coming up with a mother who's an educator, put herself through law school, a father who I knew as a journalist, I knew the name, and really it took me a while to make the connection to you, but who's a legendary radio journalist in this country, And as I like to tell people that I found out a few years ago when I heard you on somebody's show, basically birthed Soul Train. I mean, right? I mean, he gave Don Cornelius.
He gave Don the job that got him the idea. Yeah. 1 degree away, and could have invested in Soul Train, but my dad didn't think. My dad basically told Don Cornelius Soul Train and he had invested. He was one of the initial investors in Soul Train. And when Don gave my dad his money back, he was like asking my dad, like, "Hey man, just stay on and be a producer." And my dad was like, "Don't nobody want to watch Negroes dance for an hour." And he couldn't have been more wrong. But you also have to remember, my dad at that point had seen 20 years of just black beatings and struggles and wars and Civil War and Vietnam and King dead and Malcolm dead. And then here comes some Afro Negro coming down the hall. What do black people dance on TV? You don't get your ass out my office. We in the middle of the fight. My dad didn't know disco was right around the corner. He couldn't have known.
But it was such an important show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Such an important show.
Absolutely.
As my mother used to say, it was like, it was Black American Bandstand, and that was critical.
Yeah, 1,000%. That's exactly what he was thinking when he did it. Thank y'all so much for having me, man. I appreciate y'all.
Thank you. This was wonderful.
You know what I'm saying? It's like we got a demo tape and don't nobody want to hear it, but it's like this the South got something to say.
Our New South is presented by Levine Museum of the New South. Levine Museum connects the past to the future to realize the promises of a New South. To learn more and donate to projects like this, visit museumofthenewsouth.org.
Our New South is produced by Next Chapter Podcast. Thanks to our audio editor, sound designer, and composer, Hal Murdoch, video editor, Justin Cortez, producers Brian Douglas, Alexander Pineras, and Cliff Whitfield, senior producer and writer Byron Hunter, and executive producers Jeremiah Tittle and Frank the Abbott. Please follow the show, subscribe, rate and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and watch portions of our interviews on YouTube.
Go to youtube.com and search Levine Museum.
Learn more at nextchapterpodcast.com/Our New South.
The South got something to say.
Thanks for listening.